Imagine standing in the exact center of a massive open-air stadium. There are 50,000 screaming people surrounding you, and the sheer volume of that noise is so intense that it literally vibrates your ribcage.
Oh, yeah, it's totally overwhelming.
Right. And now imagine trying to execute a flawless, highly complex dance routine while simultaneously, blending these intricate vocal harmonies with 6 other people.
Which is already incredibly difficult under perfect conditions.
Exactly. But here is the catch. You have to do all of this while you are 70% deaf in one ear.
Oh, wow. I mean, it sounds completely impossible. The sensory disorientation alone would be enough to just, ground a seasoned performer.
Yeah, it really would.
But what we are looking at today isn't a hypothetical stress test.
No, it's not. For 2.5 years, that staggering physical deficit wasn't a nightmare scenario for one of the biggest pop stars on Earth. It was just his Tuesday. Yeah. Today's deep dive is taking us straight into the heart of a phenomenon that is currently moving at a supersonic, record-breaking speed across the globe. We're talking about the 2026 return of BTS.
Right there, right in the middle of their massive Arirang world tour right now.
Exactly. And they just released their first full-length group album since 2020's B, appropriately titled Arirang, which immediately debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200. I mean, it is by every measurable metric a total victory lap.
It really is. It's the absolute pinnacle of global pop culture dominance. From the outside, the Hallyu Wave looks like this unstoppable, flawless machine returning to claim its crown after, years of mandatory military hiatuses and solo projects.
Yeah.
But the sources we are unpacking today paint a vastly different picture of the engine that's actually running that machine.
Yeah, and we've got a really fascinating stack of materials today, including a deeply revealing August 2026 ELLE Korea interview with Jin, alongside a flurry of breaking news reports from outlets like Korea Daily and the Hindustan Times. And all of these reports are centered around a startling, completely unprecedented Weverse livestream that happened on August 11th, featuring V and Jungkook.
Right.
So our mission for this deep dive is to look beyond the glittering success and the chart-topping statistics. We want to explore the intense, hidden physical and emotional toll that these performers are quietly enduring to keep this historic comeback moving.
Yeah, the human cost of it all.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. Because to understand the sheer momentum we're talking about, we really have to start with the man who has arguably been running the engine the longest in this new era.
That would definitely be Jin. If you map out his timeline over the last 2 years, the sheer velocity of his output is it's staggering. He was the first member to be discharged from the military back in June of 2024. And from the moment he stepped out, the accelerator has been pinned to the floor.
Right.
He carried the Olympic torch in Paris for the South Korean delegation. He released a multi-platinum solo mini album called Happy in late 2024. Then, just a few months later, in May of 2025, he dropped a second album, Echo, which hit #3 on the Billboard 200.
Wait, and he didn't just release those albums and do some press, right? Didn't he go straight into a massive solo tour?
Yes, the Run Seokjin tour.
Right.
Hitting cities from Goyang and Chiba all the way to Anaheim, London, and Amsterdam. And while doing all of this, he's shooting variety shows like Runjin and Kian's Bizarre B&B.
Oh my gosh.
He's picking up global ambassadorships for Gucci, Fred, and Laneige, and even launching his own liquor brand, Ijin, with chef Baek Jong-won.
Just listening to that itinerary makes me need a nap. That is a frankly insane amount of work. But this isn't just about a busy schedule, right? What really stood out in the sources was how Jin frames this entire output emotionally in his recent ELLE Korea interview.
Yes, that interview is so telling.
Right. The interviewer asks him a very standard probing question about what he is afraid of. And instead of giving a PR-friendly answer about, failing to meet expectations or whatever, Jin explicitly states that even if he had deep fears, he absolutely refuses to talk about them.
His reasoning is entirely focused outward. He says, and I'm quoting here, "Army tend to worry about me actually having to face the things I'm afraid of. I don't want to put them in a situation where they have to worry like that."
Wow.
So he views his own vulnerability as a burden to the people who support him.
Yeah, he actually says that giving fans unnecessary things to worry about just doesn't fit my style. He operates on this core philosophy that his audience is watching because they want to keep good memories. So his absolute duty is to only show his brighter side. He measures his entire concept of success by his ability to generate joy for other people. There's this story he tells from the opening of the Arirang tour in Goyang, where it started pouring rain.
Oh, yeah, I read about that.
Yeah, normally, production would scramble, artists would take cover for safety, but he talks about just standing there, getting completely soaked because the fans loved it and it made the moment fun for them.
That moment in the rain is a perfect encapsulation of his mindset. But if we dig into the psychological mechanism here, it highlights a profound, almost dangerous weight.
How so?
Well, he has completely fused his definition of personal success with the emotional regulation of millions of strangers.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Early in his career, as he noted, the goal was just survival. Now, at the zenith of the industry, the goal is maintaining an unbroken, impenetrable facade of joy.
And I have to push back on this mindset because it feels like a trap to me. Is this constant need to protect the audience from reality creating an impossible standard of perfection?
It absolutely is.
Because you cannot be a flawless happiness machine 100% of the time. If you actively suppress your fears and your struggles because you refuse to burden your audience, where does that emotional pressure actually go? It doesn't just evaporate,
That is the critical question of this entire deep dive. In psychology, we talk about compartmentalization. When you seal off the pressure valve of direct communication, when you decide you simply will not speak about your pain, that pressure inevitably finds a back door.
Right.
And if we look closely at Jin's recent artistic output, we are likely seeing that back door swing wide open.
The vocal changes.
Exactly.
The ELLE Korea journalist actually points this out in the source material, specifically referencing tracks like Normal Into the Sun and Like Animals. The interviewer describes his higher register moments not just as singing, but as almost howling.
Yes. The description of howling is incredibly evocative. It suggests a raw, unvarnished release of emotion that contradicts his carefully maintained public persona. Jin, characteristically, brushes this observation off in the interview, claiming the songs were just written more emotionally, so he sang them that way.
Sure. But the art always tells on you. When a performer who vehemently refuses to speak about his internal fears starts literally howling with raw emotion on a track titled Normal, and he's doing this in front of packed stadiums, it feels like a massive tell.
Absolutely.
It's as if the music is the only safe, sanctioned space where he is legally allowed to show that he's actually bleeding.
It establishes a defining theme that runs through this entire comeback, which is concealed hardship. Jin's philosophy is to endure in silence, to perform the joy and hide the struggle. And for decades, that has been the gold standard of the idol industry.
Right.
You smile, you hit your marks, you never let the audience see you sweat, and you certainly never let them see you hurt.
But here's the fundamental problem with prioritizing mental stoicism over everything else. Physical reality always wins in the end.
It always does.
Yeah. While Jin's philosophy is to hide the struggle emotionally, the sheer physical brutality of the Arirang tour just forced a totally different reality out into the open. Which brings us to that shocking Weverse live stream on August 11th.
Right. Following their second performance at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, V and Jungkook went live to talk to the fans. And what's fascinating here is that what unfolded was a complete deviation from the industry script.
Totally.
V revealed a severe chronic medical condition that he has been battling entirely behind the scenes for over 2 years.
The statistics are mind-blowing. He admitted that he is suffering from significant asymmetrical hearing loss. He told the audience, and I quote, "If my left ear can hear 100%, my right ear is at just 30%.
30% function in one ear. And he has been managing this for 2.5 years.
It's unbelievable.
If we break down the mechanics of what this actually means for a touring musician, the difficulty level is astronomical. As a vocalist in a 7-member group, your reliance on in-ear monitors is absolute.
Right.
You need to hear the backing track to stay on beat, you need to hear your own pitch, and you need to hear the complex harmonies of 6 other members.
Let me try to put this into perspective, because a lot of people might think, well, you still have one good ear. Just turn up the volume on that side.
It doesn't work that way.
Right. It really doesn't. Trying to execute flawless stadium choreography, hit your exact marks, and blend harmonies with 30% hearing in one ear, it's like trying to paint a photorealistic portrait while wearing glasses with one lens completely frosted over.
Wow.
You lose all depth perception. You are just guessing where the canvas is based on muscle memory.
That is a highly accurate way to look at it, because hearing isn't just about volume, right? It's about spatial awareness and equilibrium. The inner ear controls your physical balance.
Oh, true.
If one side is severely degraded, the brain is constantly struggling to orient the body in space. Furthermore, Missing 70% of auditory input on one side means missing specific frequency ranges. Pitch matching becomes a mathematical impossibility based on real-time feedback.
So how does he even do it?
You have to rely entirely on the physical vibration in your throat and muscle memory to know if you are singing the right note.
And he's doing this while 50,000 people are screaming at a decibel level that rivals a jet engine taking off. He has basically been flying blind, relying purely on instinct to avoid a crash on stage.
Exactly.
But honestly, as shocking as the medical reality is, it isn't even the part of the live stream that gave me the most pause.
You're referring to the timeline and the context of why he didn't seek serious medical intervention sooner.
Exactly. I mean, I have to ask you this. These guys are at the absolute peak of the industry. They are incredibly wealthy. They have access to the best medical care on the planet. And they have massive management teams whose sole job is to keep them functioning. If he's losing his hearing, why on earth doesn't he just say, hey, I need to pause the tour and see a specialist?
To understand that, we have to look at the psychological environment he was operating in. V confessed that the condition actually worsened during his mandatory military service. He explained that in the military environment, surrounded by peers who were hyper-focused on intense physical fitness and endurance, there was a pervasive, unspoken rule that physical ailments were just a manifestation of mental weakness. He told the fans, everyone said it's a matter of mental strength.
And the heartbreaking mechanism of all this is that he actually internalized it. He said, after that, I kind of convinced myself that it was a matter of mental strength. He essentially gaslit himself.
Yes.
He took a legitimate, degrading auditory condition and convinced himself it was just a character flaw.
This is a textbook, chilling example of the trap of hypermasculine hustle culture. In high-pressure environments, whether that's the military, elite athletics, or the upper echelons of the K-pop idol industry, there is a profound glorification of endurance.
Right.
Pushing past your physical limits is elevated to a moral virtue. If you are hurt, you push through. If you are exhausted, you work harder. But when you apply that logic to a failing sensory organ, it moves from being a misplaced virtue to a profound psychological and physical danger. You cannot mental strength your way out of nerve damage or hearing loss.
Right. And this is something that extends way beyond the K-pop industry, right? It's the extreme magnified version of what so many people do in their own lives. It's the corporate employee who works through a nasty case of the flu because taking a sick day feels like a sign of weakness.
Exactly.
It's ignoring chronic back pain because our hustle culture tells us that resting means you're falling behind. We praise people for destroying themselves for the job.
Precisely. The normalization of pain in elite performance environments is so powerful that it overrides basic survival instincts. But what makes this specific live stream so pivotal is that the wall of stoicism finally cracked. And it cracked because V wasn't alone. Jungkook was sitting right beside him, and he actively, publicly disagreed with that military mindset.
He stepped right in. He told V, on camera in front of millions of people, you shouldn't do that. He completely invalidated the idea that a medical issue should just be toughed out.
That peer intervention is monumental. In an industry built on the illusion of effortless perfection, having a bandmate publicly validate your need for medical care, telling you that your failing body is not a failure of your character, is a massive paradigm shift.
Yeah.
It gave V the space to confirm that he is now finally taking medication, visiting the hospital regularly, and prioritizing his physical health.
But this brings us to the most jarring contradiction of this entire deep dive. The very person who stepped in to save V from this toxic mindset, Jungkook, immediately proceeded to confess that he is currently trapped in the exact same cycle.
It is a staggering paradox. In the very same breath that he advocates for V's well-being, Jungkook reveals his own severe, escalating physical breakdown.
Right.
He admitted that he is currently managing highly painful leg injuries, specifically severe shin inflammation and bone microdamage. He stated point blank that his shin is, quote, right on the verge of getting a stress fracture.
Let's break down the biology of a stress fracture for a second, because it's not like breaking your leg in a sudden fall. It is a slow, methodical failure of the body's repair system.
Yes, exactly.
Under normal circumstances, your bones are constantly remodeling themselves.
Yeah.
Cells called osteoclasts break down old bone, and osteoblasts build new bone. But if you put those bones under repetitive, intense physical stress, like, say, rehearsing and executing high-impact stadium choreography for hours every single day, the bone breaks down much faster than the body can repair it.
Exactly. The mechanism of repair simply cannot keep up with the mechanism of destruction. It begins with deep inflammation, progresses to microscopic tears within the bone structure itself, and eventually, if the stress isn't removed, the bone literally hollows out and snaps under the accumulated pressure.
Oh, that sounds awful.
Jungkook is hovering right in that terrifying red zone, fully aware that the snap could happen at any moment.
And you can hear the agonizing conflict between his mental stoicism and his physical reality. He told the fans, "Even today on stage, my heart was set on running around, but it hurt too much at points and I couldn't."
He is trapped.
Yeah.
He has the immense desire to perform, to embody Jin's philosophy of giving the fans the superhuman joy they expect, but he is hitting the uncompromising wall of human physiology.
Right. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the economic engine of a global tour makes hitting that wall incredibly complicated.
Oh, absolutely.
The logistics of a stadium tour are just so inflexible. You have tens of millions of dollars tied up in staging, crew, and venue contracts, not to mention the expectations of hundreds of thousands of ticket holders. When Jungkook admits, "I also want to recover quickly, but because we have continuous shows, it is impossible for it to heal," he is acknowledging the cold reality of the machine.
Yes, he is.
The Arirang tour is relentless. East Rutherford, Foxborough, Baltimore, Arlington, Toronto, Chicago. You do not heal a pre-stress fracture while headlining a North American stadium run. The machine cannot be paused.
So we have this massive collision of realities. We have Jin carrying the immense emotional weight of needing to always be the bright light, absorbing the pressure and howling it out in his music.
Right.
We have V, who spent 2.5 years masking profound sensory loss because a hypermasculine culture convinced him his failing ears were a lack of mental toughness.
Yeah.
And we have Jungkook knowingly dancing on a crumbling bone because the schedule simply will not allow his body to repair itself.
When you pull all of these threads together, what we are witnessing with the 2026 Arirang Tour is not just a triumphant musical comeback. It is a staggering, almost terrifying triumph of sheer willpower over physical reality. These performers are pushing themselves past the absolute limits of human endurance.
They are operating entirely under that core philosophy we discussed at the start, protect the fans, give them the best memory possible, no matter the internal cost.
Right.
And millions of fans are watching this unfold, seeing them break Billboard records, seeing them sell out the biggest venues on Earth, and cheering for the flawless exterior of the supersonic jet, completely unaware of the violent friction tearing at the engine inside.
Which brings us to the uncomfortable truth at the center of this deep dive. The historic, record-breaking success of this tour, and perhaps the enduring global dominance of the Hollywave itself, is built on a foundation of immense, meticulously concealed physical and psychological sacrifice.
It really is.
Behind every perfectly synchronized dance break, behind every crystal clear high note, behind every staggering chart statistic, there are human beings managing severe vulnerabilities. They are dealing with failing bodies, chronic pain, and the crushing psychological burden of never wanting to let down the millions of people who look up to them.
It leaves us with a critical, lingering question that applies to everyone who engages with this kind of entertainment.
Yeah.
As we continually consume this highly polished, superhuman perfection, as we demand the flawlessness, the relentless touring, and the nonstop content, do we inadvertently fuel the very mental strength culture that keeps these artists from seeking help?
Wow.
If our consumption demands that the machine never stops, how can we expect the people inside it to ever find the time to heal?
It's a heavy thought to carry the next time you buy a ticket or stream an album. We demand the illusion of effortlessness, but the cost of that illusion is incredibly high. And right now, the engine is running white hot. Let's leave it there for today.